It's like we've forgotten who we are, Tom. Explorers, pioneers, not caretakers.
You're fucking a white male!
Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Alpha White Male. Now for this video, I'm going to be talking about my experiences working for corporate America or any type of employer out there within America. And the crazy thing about the things that I'm going to be sharing with you, I can guarantee you that if you do not live in America and that you are a white European living in any white European homeland society, you too can relate to the stories, the experiences, and things that I've been subjugated to while working here in America. Because as we already know and I love to discuss about, what's happening in one white European homeland society is going on in another one. We're just at different levels and stages, and of course the end goal is going to be achieved. It's just a matter of time. But for this video, I'm going to be using some notes because I want to be thoroughly clear and make sure that I cover all the talking points, the things that I've witnessed, go through, and that you can probably relate to these things as well. Now, before I go in on this subject, let me give you that introductory salutatory pose of mine. Alpha white male. Now, as you may know, I have been recently fired from my old previous job, which that was my first time being fired from my job due to my viewpoints, talking about the truth and reality as to what's going on. And of course, everything that I talk about, I could back it up with statements that is ironically coming from the group of people that I talk about. But when they brag and boast about it, oh, it's perfectly fine. But when you talk about it, that's unacceptable. That breaches those guidelines, those standards. But anyways, the reason why I'm bringing up this video is because the other day while I was at my job, I'm sitting there on break all by myself, surrounded by a sea of black and brown people. And I'm just tending to myself, even if it was all white people. I'd still be tending to myself because I don't want to get fired from my job. I don't want to be encompassed within the bullshit drama, the situations that's being talked about like sports, politics, religion, all that shit, to where I'm going to start focusing on that root source of the problem as to who controls this and the things they're pushing, etc. But I'm sitting there watching TV and this commercial comes on of McDonald's, which I'm going to discuss about this commercial first before I go into my experiences and all the other stuff, because this is going to lay out a context as to exactly what is going on. Now, McDonald's, we already know that they are the largest food manufacturer and actually toy distributor in America and pretty much the world, which that is pretty crazy to think about that. They're the largest toy distributor. That's not even a joke there. And of course, McDonald's was created by a white European, a white American. And of course, when I talk about what is an American is a European. But anyways, McDonald's was created by a white European for white Europeans. It hired white Europeans and it served white Europeans themselves. Now, you fast forward to today's time, McDonald's has been heavily infiltrated, subverted, and weaponized by dispensing poisonous food to the population. I mean, this is well known. Fast food is not healthy. And even back then, the food wasn't as healthy as it should be, but it was a hell of a lot better and safer back then. It was real food compared to the garbage nowadays. But anyways, going off of what now is going on at McDonald's, like this commercial I'm watching, to where it has Charles Barkley narrating for this Asian man. I'm just thinking to myself, damn, this falls into the videos that I've recently made and of course discussed about extensively in the past about the Asian invasion that's going on in all white European homelands and societies. And like the previous video, I made a couple videos down before as to where Asians are flooding into even Africa, recolonizing Africa for their benefit. And to the point where they're pretty much owning and dominating the Africans and treating them much worse than the Europeans. But anyways, in this commercial, Charles Barkley is pretty much narrating the thoughts, the ideas that is going on in this Asian man's head while he's eating a cheeseburger or a McDonald's burger. You get the point. And when I'm sitting there watching that commercial, it's like all the other commercials you see for McDonald's and what goes on in McDonald's. McDonald's is mostly staffed by blacks. The majority of people there that eat there is non-whites, and a lot of whites eat there also, which they should not be doing because it's poisonous, it's detrimental towards your health. But what is being also employed in the commercials and displayed towards the population, the catering, as usual, because at the core root of their values, such as all the other corporations, diversity and inclusivity is what they focus on mostly. I mean, they're not hiding it. Like, where's the white people in the commercials? You don't see them there because white people are not welcome. They are not wanted within white European homelands and societies anymore because we are not the ones in the positions of power. White supremacy is not in place. It hasn't been in place for a very long time. It's a group of people that like to pretend that they are white Europeans, but in reality, they are not. It is their best way to project their evil actions and behaviors upon us. And of course, get their non-whites, their bioethnic weapons, radicalized to attack and destroy us. And of course, cry foul, racism, etc. And I don't know why this camera is fucking focusing in and out, but it's pissing me the fuck off. But anyways, going on with this subject here, just laying out the context as to what that commercial is all about. Now, I'm going to give you an insider perspective as to the steps as to what goes on when you get hired, to orientation, to when you're working at the job. And this is exactly what goes on in all of our homelands and societies. Affirmative action and diversity quotas is their number one goal and achievement. And of course, when you sign up for a job or you put it in your application, you're going to go throughout many processes to where it's going to ask for your race, your gender, and then if you're white, it's going to say, are you Hispanic or non-Hispanic? And then it even goes further by asking, do you have a work visa? Do you have a green card? Are you a citizen? Are you a non-citizen? And I'm just thinking to myself, damn, I remember 5 years ago, those type of questions and scenarios were never, ever on any of these applications. But how far things are being taken to in our homelands and societies. And of course, they had other coding and other like SBU, I don't know, it's all this crazy lingo and jargo or whatever, these codes and permits and all this crap. It's just more excuses and justifications for flooding our homelands and societies with these non-whites that don't belong here, taking away our jobs because, yes, they are taking away our jobs. They're taking away our own way of making our own living and to become self-dependent, self-reliant upon our own people, our own society, etc. But instead, it's all about disenfranchising, destroying us, weakening us, and of course, enriching and empowering the non-whites that flood into our homeland societies at the expense of us, to dispossess us. But anyways, when I got hired for the job, I go to orientation, and I'm surrounded by 50 black and brown people, and there is only one other white person there. Only one. Me and this other guy. Out of a class of 50 people. And of course, during the orientation, they talk about how diversity is at their core source of the value. And of course, this corporation that I work for now was founded by a white European also. Employed white Europeans and is the epitome of whiteness and all this shit, but wow, how things are changed. And then during orientation, they showed these videos of how to carry yourself, how to work, what to do, what not to do. And I shit you not. You want to talk about being triggered? During these videos, it starts out with the typical, stereotypical things that they love to put out there. And of course, that they love to put out there. The smart, sophisticated, educated, well-groomed, handsome black man. And of course, he has his glasses on. Paired up with a blonde white woman. And they're going to be the ones telling you what to do, how to do things. And then they're analyzing this white guy who's doing everything wrong. He's the epitome of stupidity. And it just reminds me of all these commercials you see about how white men are so fucking stupid. They don't know how to do anything. But the black male or black woman comes to the aid and educates them, knows everything. I mean, without these people, that enrichment and vibrancy, that diversity is such a strength for us. I don't know how America would be at where it is now, or any white European homeland society would be at the point as to where it is nowadays. Or, well, nowadays it's regressing, as we see. It's being turned into third world shithole countries. The standards, the values, the principles, the infrastructure. But that's because of white racism. That is why it's going on. White people are causing that decay. Anyways, yeah, this commercial, like, you want to talk about being triggered? Talk about racism right there. Now, if the races were reversed, oh, you better believe that that sea of black and brown people in that orientation would be pissed the fuck off. They would not accept or tolerate any of that shit. But for me, being a white European, I gotta sit there and watch that shit. And of course, during the orientation, this video, the black and brown people are laughing at this fucking white guy because the shit that he's doing is pretty fucking stupid, moronic, and of course he looks like a fucking bumbling idiot too, because they always gotta portray that. The white male is a fucking idiot. It's fucking infuriating. And of course, moving on to the job site, which I should actually get to some of my notes here. Actually, before I get into these notes. Because, see, this is what sets off the notion as to what goes on in all workforces. And, of course, other people have put comments about this. When it really comes to who works the hardest, who really keep these companies afloat, picks up the slack, is us whites. That's how it's always been at all the jobs that I've been at. I'm always the go-to guy. I'm always the one picking up the slack, motivating, getting on everybody's asses, like being a fucking supervisor, manager. Hey, let's fucking do this. Let's go knock this out. Meanwhile, they know that they can slack off because they're a diversity quota. The corporation needs them. They're not going to fire somebody like me because somebody like me is not welcomed. Of course, when it comes to this diversity quota affirmative action, it's because the government, the lawmakers put this into place that they have to have a certain quota. And then, of course, they'll get some funding for that quota also. Fucking infuriating. But anyways, getting into my notes here that I want to discuss about pertaining to this situation. I titled this, "The Sad and Fucked Up State That the General Work Environment Has Become Within America." So, I'm going to use my first talking point about how my mom telling me about how to get into the workforce and move on up, such as what they're looking for or what they want. Now, I remember when I was growing up and I was young, my mom was always telling me, you need to be well-spoken, well-mannered, be presentable, and get the highest education level that you can get because they're looking for you, a white male, to become a leader. They want you into the positions of power to lead their corporations, to be a representative, a speaker. But as we see nowadays, nope, they don't want white males. Definitely not white European males of my stature, my character, in the positions of power. I'm dead last as to who they want. And of course, they keep raising the standards as to what we have to achieve while lowering the standards as to what they have to achieve to get into the workforce or the positions of power. Now, the orientation, yeah, I talked about more focus, training periods, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so next talking point. Yeah, management may be dominated by whites, but we know that the real top spots of management at these corporations are mostly you know who. But even then nowadays, management is filled with diversity due to the push of diversity, inclusivity. You know, we have minorities. We gotta get more minorities in positions of power. Become bosses, CEOs, speakers. And that is exactly what's going on. They will do everything in their power just to put a non-white in a management position or to become a boss, etc. Even if they don't have any education level or skills or poor speaking habits. Like I remember when I was in college, this is a story that like where I got my first wake-up call. as to how quickly non-whites can advance within the management or just in any type of job scenario. I was working for this cafeteria for over a year, busting my ass, doing dishes, garbage, all that shit. Black person comes in, just, dude's like 30 years old, and he was a drug user. He would not hide this shit. And it wasn't like, smoking. No, it was heavy drugs, cocaine, meth, all this shit. And even one time, we were washing dishes. A fucking crack rock fell out of his nose into the garbage disposal, and he was flipping the fuck out. And I was just like, did I just really witness this? This is my first time being encompassed through this, and I was just like blown away. And then a month later, guess what? They're training this guy to be a supervisor because they wanted him out of the dish room and to become into a supervisor managerial position because they have to fill a quota, And the corporation, I can't remember. It's one of those big food corporations out there. I want to say it's not Cisco, but anyways, it doesn't matter. It's like all the corporations out there. They're fucking just, they don't care. They'll just do anything to put a non-white in a suit and tie and say, this is our boss, this is our manager, yeah, we got enough. We're pushing diversity because we like you guys. But anyways, the majority of workers in most corporations and all that stuff are non-whites. Barely any of them really put in a hard work and effort. They barely work at all. They mostly goof off, joke around, and just waste time. This is how it's been at most of my jobs within different fields, such as hospitality, healthcare facilities, corporate work environments, and of course, at gyms. Now, the hiring process, I already talked about that, the application. Now, this is a great one, because this is something that you will always notice. When blacks get fired at your job, who are they going to replace that individual with? Another black. I mean, I've seen this time after time after time. When you think that most of these corporations would get sick and tired of hiring these non-whites to where they know that they're going to get fired and that they have to go throughout the hiring process all over again, which is a waste of time, resources, and money for the corporation. Of course, the managers, time and effort. They got to keep wasting it on this stuff instead of just sitting back and watching, because that's what you really want to do when you're a manager, is do the least amount of work possible. Come in and get the fuck out as soon as possible. You don't want to stay there all day long. You have a family to get to. You are salary paid. You're not getting paid by the hour. So you want to utilize the most of your time in the most effective way possible. And wasting your time looking for new candidates, such as, diversity quotas, that are going to get fired and that you have to keep replacing them with non-whites, is a waste of time, effort. But they have to follow this because it's that diversity, inclusivity. I mean, I've seen this time after time. It's so infuriating to where it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And I've seen this time after time. And let's see. So this is another thing too I noticed a lot too. Non-whites getting hired while they are visibly pregnant, especially in the healthcare field. And the reason why they do this is for the benefits. Or pregnant, or this is another thing too that a lot of them will do. They will get pregnant very soon after they get hired. So many non-whites on benefits while working at the... Okay, that's a subject for a different one. That's for the next one. So this is a crazy thing. When you are an employer, you don't want to hire somebody that is pregnant because you obviously know that you're going to have to pick up the costs of the healthcare aspect for them, giving birth, and then they're going to have to take time off, and possibly they might quit, or their FMLA might expire, and then, you got to go through the paperwork, the process of eliminating them, firing them, letting them go, and then, you got to put the burden and the work effort onto somebody else. You got to pay overtime for other people to pick up that time of picking up this, you get the point. It's fucking pain in the ass. And it's just not good. But this is what they will do. They will go out of their way to hire non-white women, especially in the healthcare field, which the healthcare field is totally dominated by women. And they love to get non-white women in there. And I talked about this extensively as to how the hospitals that I worked at, they were all built and founded and employed by mostly white female nurses and male doctors. Boy, have the times changed. Now it's mostly Asians, blacks, and Hispanics that are filling up the nursing jobs, and of course the doctor jobs, and even filling up as the patients within the healthcare field. And of course, who has to be burdened with the pay? Us. And of course, you see how the healthcare field is dramatically going into the gutter. And of course, this isn't by accident. It is done by design, malice, intent, within white European homelands and societies. I mean, I could just go on and on about that, but I'm just going to skip that one. So, this is another thing too. So many non-whites are on benefits while working at the job and getting paid the same as me. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, when it comes to us white Europeans, we are being parasitized off of these non-whites. And of course, the eternal victims are the bigger parasite. But when it comes to these non-whites, they could be working the same job as you, getting the same pay, the same hours as you, but they will be getting benefits such as paid food, like, food stamps, their housing paid for them, EBT, Section 8, etc. And like all this is coming at the expense of us. And like I remember hearing some of the stories as to how these people working the same job as me, getting the same pay as me, where they will literally tell me, because I was asking them, how do you get on all this stuff? Like, how can I get on this? Because I might as well get the good ones too. They're like, you can't qualify, white boy. You just can't do it. You're not black. And I was like, what the fuck? And, we all know about this, especially being a white male. They're not going to be like, yeah, we'll give you some of these benefits. No. But for them, oh, they're loaded on it. Like, I remember this one girl worked the same job as me, getting a subsidized $1,800 a month for housing. And I talked about this in a different video, the situation about this woman, to where she has 5 kids by herself, doesn't get any child support. And one of her baby daddies has 23 fucking kids, and she knew about that too. Now he probably has 30 kids, and he's not paying for this. Instead, it goes back to my other video about how happy Father's Day, white males. We are taking care and being burdened with all these non-whites. So the next one, this is a good one. Now this goes back to like what I was telling you about, like my mom, as to what she told me, be upstanding, be the epitome of, greatness. Now what you'll see within the corporate work field is people with piercings all over the fucking place, tattoos all over their fucking face, neck, hands, fingers, full sleeves. But don't you dare try to call them out and say you gotta hide that stuff. You need to put that away, because that's insensitive. That's culturally intolerant. They're just expressing themselves. Like, I'll tell you some crazy stories about the healthcare field. You'll see non-whites where they'll have fucking tattoos on their necks, even their fucking face, taking care of patients. I mean, think about that. Do you really want to be taken care of by a healthcare worker who has face tattoos, piercings, neck tattoos, and all this shit? It's going on. Got the little nose septum, the little bull ring, multiple piercings on the fucking ears. Crazy shit like that. Like, I remember this one guy. He was a nurse. He had 2 full sleeves, tattoos, just sleeves on his arms. Craziest fucking shit. You would think it was some, like, white supremacist type of tattoos, but no, he was Hispanic. Skulls, webs, and all this shit on his fucking arms. If that was somebody like me, they'd be like, you need to get the fuck out of here, or you need to hide those sleeves. But instead, they'd probably say, you need to get the fuck out of here. We're not accepting you. But I mean, this is the shit that you will see within corporate America or within the healthcare field, any of these jobs out there. It just blows your mind away. Oh, and of course, you can't forget about the hair. They'll say that they have rules. Like, and this is the crazy thing about all these things. In the orientation, their guidelines, the rules, they're in there to say this stuff that you need to follow this, but they don't apply them towards the non-whites mostly. And especially with the hair is fucking out of control. Sometimes they'll dye their hair crazy colors, have the craziest hairstyles. Don't you dare try to tell them that they need to have a modest hairstyle, because that's the epitome of whiteness. They need to express themselves within their own culture, their own practices. Fucking insane. And this camera is really fucking pissing me off how it keeps focusing in and out. It's annoying as hell. But I'm just trying something new for this video, but damn fucking serious with this shit. Oh yeah, I can't forget about this type of hairstyle where they'll have one side of their head shaved, and this is for the women. I see this shit where they have one side of their head shaved and the hair like braided down. And this is like white women doing this shit, and it's dyed and all this shit. It's like, oh, really? And some of them even have the not piercing, but tattoos on their skulls and shit. And I'm just like, wow, man. And it's like, this is another reason why it's like so hard to date nowadays. Because all these fucking women, and of course the guys are doing this shit too, because all these women out there are just fully encompassed in this dysfunctional, degenerate, destructive ideologies, mindsets, behaviors, and lifestyles to the fucking max. And the ones that aren't, they're pretty much taken up anyways, or they're whoring themselves out. It's like you just can't fucking win, man. Which I should make a video about dating, fucking my experiences, you know. Just even being, you know, modesty. But anyways, next one. The majority of people are smoking cigarettes, weed, vaping, and all this other fucking crazy shit. This is like what you see at all these corporation people. They're nervous, they're stressed out, or they're just encompassing, like what I said, the 3 Ds. Dysfunctionality, degeneracy, and destructive lifestyles, behaviors, mindsets. Because when it comes to cigarettes, smoking weed, and vaping, it's not good for your health, guys. Now, I can tolerate and accept ingesting marijuana or, you know, ingesting THC tinctures and all that stuff, but is it something that I'm going to push and promote? No. Because it is numbing you. It is making you docile, because that is exactly why they're pushing the whole marijuana thing towards the population now, because they know things are getting so fucking crazy that they want to keep dumbing down and dociling the population. But here, you could have your marijuana now. Get high. Don't worry about things, man. Instead, we need to become infuriated, anger. Fucking take back what's rightfully ours and fight back. But anyways, the other one, race mixing, you will see constantly at the jobs. Because what do you think goes on when the whole place is employed by non-whites and there's very few white people there? Race mixing is going to occur because it also feeds into that mindset too where, oh, look, this non-white doesn't fit that stereotype, that racist depiction, because, hey, he's got a job, which, as I talked about earlier, the standards, the bars have been dramatically lowered for him to be able to achieve that job. He doesn't have to work as hard or at the same performance level on the job as a white person does. He could just kick back, relax, fuck around, do whatever the fuck he wants because he won't be called out on it. He has to really go to the extremes to get fired. So even speaking about that, some of the shit that I see non-whites do and still keep their job, like getting arrested, getting into fights, confrontations, still allowed to work the next day. Meanwhile, somebody like me just speaks the truth, or even did a fraction of that stuff as to what I mentioned there, I'd be out the fucking door in a heartbeat. Because they want to retain as many non-whites as possible. Okay, so next point. Also a major thing I noticed is that like over 90%, well, I like, what? Okay, I got it now. Also, a major thing that I noticed is that about over 90% of the white people that work there, they tend to be really nasty, backstabbing, passive-aggressive towards each other. This is the women I'm talking about here. The white women tend to be really nasty, backstabbing, passive-aggressive towards each other and towards other whites like me. It's like they walk around with a chip on their shoulder, like they're the boss. Because this whole feminism, this whole empowerment aspect, and of course, they're also being put into the positions of power of management because they want more women in management. And that they can't do no wrong. They know how to do things, and if it isn't succeeding, it's because the workers are failing, not their policies or the way they're carrying out the corporations. Like some of the shit that I had to step in and fix things on my own and put down things and suggest to female managers, this is what needs to be done. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'll initiate that. And wow, magically things have dramatically improved. And that's why like a long video I made a long time ago, like 2 years ago, to where I won Employee of the Year at a major hospital I used to work at, out of a staff of 3,000 people. That's why I won it, because I dramatically overchanged the department I was working at, because I dramatically changed the policies, the way things flowed or were carried out in that department. I got shit done right away. Because when it really comes to who is a better manager or candidate, it's mostly white men. But they don't want to credit white men. It's like the same thing earlier. They want to portray us as dumb, idiot, incompetent. And oh, this is a great one. The music being played by both staff and management and the workers while on the job, you know, in their own personal aspect, is hip-hop, rap, R&B, that gangster shit, you know what I'm talking about. And also being played over the intercom for everybody to listen to and everything else is the same thing. That enriching, that vibrancy music. It's not hate music, guys, even though it pushes dysfunctional, destructive ideologies, mindsets, behaviors, and lifestyles that people literally glorify and worship these individuals. So the next talking point, if they are going to hire a white male, it is usually going to be the type that is a soy boy, a beta emasculated male. That usually you will see him typically wearing pink and all that fucking crap. That pisses me the fuck off when I see these type of males wearing their little glasses, their little, look at me, I'm so sophisticated, I got my coffee. And then I got my latest experience. I don't know what that's talking about. I guess like what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, I pretty much tend to myself, blah, 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 surrounded by a sea of blacks. Oh, so then the end result. This is the end result as to what is going... Oh, I can't forget about this. I'll talk about the experiences, that things you will be subjugated to while working within the workforce. Thanks to the news and, of course, what's being pushed, the anti-white rhetoric and propaganda, to where you have to sit there and just take all this racism towards you constantly, where they will call you white boy, cracker, honky, all this shit on the job, or just fucking, you know, make fun of you, talk about, you know, Donald Trump, everything else, about whites, you know, calling the cops or whatever, all this shit. Then I made videos about this. And you're just supposed to sit there and just take it. Even though you could use truths and facts about, you know, the reality of race and what's going on, who's responsible for all these things. But then that's where you're out of line. You're racist. And, you know, if you try to bring this up to the management as to how they're calling you all this stuff, they'll just brush it off and say, you know, they're just joking around. Don't worry about it. Just keep working, you know. But if it's you, white, you're going to get the fuck out. You're going to get fired for that because, hey, you need to be inclusive with these people. You need to tolerate the belittlement that they do towards you constantly. I mean, and just the anger that you see in their voice and in their facial expressions when they look at you, talk to you. I mean, it's going on. I mean, now, not all, trust me, but a large majority of them are. Because trust me, like, I could be friends with a lot of non-whites. And even when I start telling them the truth, exposing the reality as to what's going on, you want to know something that they'll do to me? They'll go, damn, you know what, I didn't see it that way, but I respect your talking points and thank you for that. You know, I literally had that a couple times. And even they'll reference me, they'll ask me about my opinion pertaining to certain things that's going on. Like, one guy asked me about black, and he's probably watching this maybe. He's maybe watching this. He asked me, you know, what's my opinion on Black Panther, since you know who created Black Panther, who's behind it all. And I pretty much told him, you know, I gave him my video, referenced it. Which that was a classic and, you know, just a slam dunk. Anyways, getting to the point of closing this out, the end result as to what this achieves. This achieves as to the destruction of the middle class, which is white America. And of course, when it comes to governmental jobs and all these things, we know that that is the only sector that is really employing blacks to give them that middle class level. Because if you took away the government jobs, there would be no black middle class. But then even when it comes to non-governmental jobs, such as the ones that I'm talking about in my experiences and stuff, they're going out of their way to hire non-whites, to put them in positions of power, to give them jobs at the expense of us. which is further disenfranchising and dispossessing us within our own homelands and societies, making it much harder for us. And this only leaves this type of option for us left: to become self-employed or poor and broke. Because when it comes to the subsidies, the welfare programs, they're definitely not going to cater to white males. They will cater to white women, but it should only be catered towards us whites in the first place when it comes to welfare, because it is our homeland and society. Everything should be at the betterment for us only, because this homeland society was built and founded by white Europeans, for white Europeans only. There's no excusing it. Yes, everything about this country was racist, because you have to be racist to protect yourselves, to keep your future going on. Like all other people, they're racist as fuck, because it's a natural survival behavior to where you keep the money, the wealth, the power, and most of all, genetics amongst your own group of people. But we already know that it's a double standard contradiction to where whites are not allowed to do that. Whites should just give everything away. Their genetics, their resources, their homeland societies, their children. It'd just be destroyed, because that's the egalitarian. The noble aspect is to give without receiving anything back. Instead, just to keep getting belittled and told, you need to do more. You need to do more. We need more from you. Because never is enough for these people. As you see, they keep demanding more and more and more. They want to rule over you. They want to be ruling over us in our own homelands and societies. It's fucking sickening. And then, of course, the next thing, it's very hard for us to start our own corporations or jobs and all that stuff, because we're competing against the market, the companies out there that is controlled by you know who. So that's pretty much the whole thing as to my experiences, things that you'll be subjugated to while working within the workforce, while being a white male within a white European homeland society. And of course, you can leave your comments, your experiences, your subjects down below, or you can make some videos pertaining to that and just let me know about it, because I want to hear some of your talking points and things that you witnessed and seen. And it's just so fucking infuriating seeing this shit, because like even out in the country areas where non-whites are not supposed to be at, where people think that it's a white haven. No, it's not. You're still surrounded by a sea of black and brown people, because the policies, the same things are being enacted there too. HUD, Section 8, diversity quotas, affirmative action. They need more focus on minorities. Help uplift them and all this crap. But that's the end of this video, and this is the last time I'm going to use this camera for this video. Anyways, guys, comment, rate, subscribe. Alpha White Male, signing out.